You are watching Nimasa This Week, the authorized voice for the maritime sector. My name is Iretiola Doyle, and you are welcome. Now, for the most part on our show today, it's all about Nimarex 2014. The foremost maritime expo in Nigeria, Nimarex, took off in grand style at the prestigious Eco Hotel and Suites in Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria. This high-octane event attracted top dignitaries from both the government and private sectors. The Minister of Transport, Senator Idris Umar, was on hand to declare the event open. And of course, this event also provided a platform for maritime stakeholders to come together and deliberate on issues that will move the industry forward. Our field correspondent, Amanda Akpan, was there and presents her report.
The maritime industry flagship event, Nimarex, kicked off on Monday the 10th of March 2014 at the Eco Hotel and Suites in Victoria Island. The colorful opening ceremony was well attended by who is who in the maritime sector, as well as the former president of the Federation, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida GCFR, who was ably represented by General Raji Razaki, retired, a former military administrator of Lagos State. The chairperson of the Nimarex 2014 Organizing Committee, Barrister Mrs. Margaret Arakusi, gave a formal opening address.
Today, we gather to celebrate, evaluate, navigate, and debate on the future of the maritime industry. An industry that has played a remarkable role in the development of virtually all sectors of the Nigerian economy for 100 years, or should I say more than 100 years. The role of the maritime sector in world economy cannot be overemphasized. The industry has been described, and rightly so, as the life wire of the growth and development of key sectors of every successful economy.
Nimarex, in its 4th edition, has established itself as the premier event that brings all the relevant stakeholders in the maritime sector together for the purpose of forging forward for the maritime industry. The special guest of honor for the occasion, the President of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, who's built with the responsibility of declaring the expo open, was unavoidably absent, but was represented by the Minister of Transport, Senator Idris Umar. Senator Umar, in his speech, expressed government's resolve to transform the shipping sector through the phased implementation of the recommendations of the Presidential Retreat on Maritime Sector and through the reintroduction of bunkering services in Nigeria.
The maritime sector remains a key sector of the economy whose enormous potential deserves continuous harnessing in order to meet the expectations of government and the citizens. To demonstrate government's resolve in transforming the maritime sector, a phased implementation of the recommendations of the outcome of the Presidential Retreat on the maritime sector with the theme, harnessing the potential of the maritime sector for sustainable economic development, has commenced with the reintroduction of legal bunkering services in the country. Other recommendations of the blueprints will be considered and approved for implementation on a case-by-case basis as considered expedient by government.
The Nigerian Ship Owners Association, NISA, was well represented at the expo, and its chairman, Chief Isaac Jalakwamo, used the occasion to speak on the role of shipping in the affairs of the nation, in line with the theme for this year's Nimarex 2014, which is 100 years of maritime development in Nigeria. Also speaking at the expo, General Babangida acknowledged Nigeria as a natural maritime nation endowed with maritime potentials and vast hinterland, while reminiscing on the development of the maritime sector during his regime.
The maritime transport opens a country to global markets. It enhances market size and eliminates market distances. It is also not an accident that most developed economies in the world today are maritime nations, all located along the seaports. The desire by Nimarex to showcase the enormous potential of Nigeria as a maritime nation is therefore a positive step in the right direction.
Nimerex 2014 would not have been possible without the substantial support of the organizing committee received from Nimasa. It was no surprise that the DG Nimasa's Yakeda Patrick Akobulakemi was invited for the goodwill message at the opening ceremony.
To create a country that is going to be respected in the Committee of Nations when we talk about maritime. Thank God the natural endowment is there. The human capacity is also there and it's also growing. And with the silent revolution that is occasioned by the President and ably piloted by the Honorable Minister of Transport, I'm rest assured that we are going to take Nigeria to the maritime destination that we are all craving for.
The high point of the conference was the unveiling of the Nimerex book, which aim is of great benefit to the maritime sector and the entire country.
The glory of God and for the benefit of the maritime sector and the entire country. I now unveil the book.
As part of the Nimerex formalities, dignitaries led by the Minister of Transport, Senator Idris Umar, were led on a tour of the exhibitor stands. At the end of the tour, the Minister of Transport then spoke to journalists present on the progress of shipping development in the nation.
I can say that the country has tremendously progressed in the area of shipping. There is no doubt about it. We didn't start as a nation like this in the capacity we have today. Today we have built a lot of capacity as a country in the area of shipping activities and the maritime activities generally. The federal government is, like I said in my speech, committed to assisting the indigenous shipping companies and individuals to grow their capacity. This is evident from the various activities that the federal government has been doing and putting in place a lot of things for the industry. However, there is much to be done, and that the federal government has that intention of assisting the indigenous players to build their capacity.
Nimerex 2014 also provided an opportunity for the members of the Planning Committee to honor some key players in the maritime industry for their outstanding contributions to the growth and development of the Nigerian maritime sector. Now, it's no stretch of the imagination that one of the people honored at this event was the Director General of Nigeria's Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Zakede Patrick Akobulakemi. An honor well deserved. Again, our field correspondent Amanda Akman was there and presents her report.
In continuation of its celebration of the 100 years of maritime development in Nigeria, the organizers of Nimerex 2014 put together an award dinner night in commemoration of Nigeria's feats in the maritime sector, most especially to honor 4 distinguished personalities for their sterling performance in the maritime industry. The event had all the trappings of an event of this magnitude. There was food, lot of laughter and music. After the merrymaking and the general air of conviviality, the organizers proceeded to the business of the day by honoring the 4 personalities who have distinguished themselves.
We have chosen four giants in the industry who have contributed a lot to the growth of maritime. What a better time to celebrate them than this time that we are celebrating our 100 years.
It came as no surprise that the DG Nimasa's Yakeda Patrick Akobulakemi was chosen for this special recognition alongside the chairman of the Nigerian Indigenous Shippers Association, Chief Isaac Jolakpamo. The DG of Nimasa was bestowed with this prestigious award for his contributions towards transforming the maritime sector since resumption of office as Director General. The Director of Shipping Development Nimasa, Captain Waridi Eniswa, received the award on behalf of the DG.
Now, we did warn you at the beginning of the show that today it's mostly about Nimerex 2014. And at the exhibition, maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea formed the focal point of discussions on the second day of the exhibition. The emphasis was on Nimasa's efforts at fighting piracy in collaboration with other security agencies. Our senior reporter, Chukwudi Ogana, presents the report.
On the second day of the Nigerian Maritime Expo 2014, one of the topics treated was the insecurity situation in Nigeria's coastal areas and what measures have been put in place to check the security threats. As the agency that regulates the maritime industry and also ensures safety and security in Nigeria's territorial waters, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, had its turn to prove to stakeholders and intending maritime investors that Nigeria's maritime sector was a safe industry to invest in and that there was no cause for alarm. The director in charge of shipping development, Mr. Waredi Enisuo, took the audience through the steps taken by the agency to tackle the security challenges bedeviling the Gulf of Guinea, of which Nigeria's territorial waters is part.
We try to create a very robust legal framework by trying to domesticate all the laws that we could use to prosecute pirates and sea robbers. And we also have to demonstrate a willingness to respond. Because what happened in the past was people did not have faith in the system. But however, within Nimasa's body, we have the following assets to play with. We have patrol boats, which the Navy has helped us to equip. Very good guns. We have the Nigerian Air Force that has donated aircraft to us, as you can see. That's the ATR-42, with a very, very good equipment on board. We also have Nigerian Navy ships that are supportive to this course. A robust control center, which is in the making, satellite coverage, and radar.
The aspect of Captain Waridi's presentation that captured more of the stakeholders' attention was the 4D response and its limitations. The 4D response, as enumerated by the presenter, was deterrence, detection, detention, and destruction.
This is at the Nimasa Control Center. The approaches, track the ship, everything is looking green, there's no problem. However, his friends in the Niger Delta region carrying out oil. However, the merchant ship also switches off its AIS. As the two boats approach each other, 60 to 70 nautical miles, the system provides an alert for possible ship-to-ship transfer. We are forced to call in our bigger guns, and the Nigerian Air Force responds. They're going to be intercepted. We're going to drag them into the harbor. And there we leave it to our lawyers to decide what we're going to do.
It was a rousing ovation that greeted the presentation of Nimasa's Director of Shipping Development, and there was no better way to tell that the maritime stakeholders and participants got the message that Nimasa was in control of the situation and was ready to do more to bring a total end to maritime insecurity. However, some of the members of the panel of discussants raised some issues that, if not adequately addressed, could pose a security threat to the country's maritime industry, among others. It came in the form of an advice when the Secretary General of Nigerian Ship Owners Association, NISA, Captain Dada Labinjo, pointed out the security risk in training seafarers under the Nigerian Seafarers Development Program (NSDP) without making commensurate efforts to engage them in meaningful employment. The Nigerian security agencies, including the Nigerian Immigration Service, the Nigerian Air Force, and the Nigerian Navy were represented and spoke of their contributions to ensuring security in the country's territorial waters, and also gave suggestions on how to better the situation. According to the chairperson organizing committee of the Nigerian Maritime Expo 2014, Margaret Onyema Orekusi, the objective was to allay the fears of maritime investors regarding the safety of the country's maritime industry in terms of investments.
Recently, Nigeria's apex maritime regulatory body, Nimasa, organized a one-day stakeholders forum for the upcoming third edition of the D8 Expert Working Group meeting scheduled to take place in Abuja. Our field correspondent, Amanda Akwan, was at the forum and presents her report from our studios.
D8, also known as Developing 8, is an organization for developing cooperation among 8 countries in the world. These countries include Indonesia, Iran, Malaysia, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Turkey. The objectives of the D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation are to improve member state position in the global economy, diversify and create new opportunities in trade relations, enhance participation in decision-making at international level, and improve standards of living. Nigeria, being part of the D8 countries, would develop its own country-specific and regional trade strategies, which will be based on the areas where the country has competitive and comparative advantage. For shipping, which is a strong catalyst for socio-economic development in Nigeria, the D8 Expert Working Group on Shipping was initiated in 2010 with a view to fast-track investment cooperation in the maritime sector and also increase the share of trade amongst the developing 8 countries, which will provide the required superstructure for a globalized model to shipping development. It is to this effect that the Apex Maritime Regulatory Body in Nigeria, Nimasa, put together a one-day stakeholder forum on the third D8 Expert Working Group meeting on shipping to be held in Abuja. The meeting had representatives from the Ministry of Transport, top executives of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency Nimasa present, as well as stakeholders in the maritime sector. The Director General Nimasa Ziakeda Patrick Akpobulekemi was represented by the Director Maritime Labour Services Nimasa, Mrs. Juliana Gunwa, who read the DG speech to the participants. In the DG speech, he laid emphasis on the importance of the D8s to Nigeria as a nation, especially the maritime sector. Mrs. Ziakeda solicited the total support of all stakeholders in the sector to cooperate with Nimasa by giving contributions to issues to help achieve progress in the forthcoming third D8 Expert Working Group scheduled to hold in Abuja. In another technical section, the President of Nigeria Indigenous Ship Owners Association, NISA, Chief Isaac Jalakomo, also represented by Engineer Emmanuel Ilori, spoke on some of the focal points the D8 Experts Working Group should address in the forthcoming meeting. After the technical session, the stakeholders then took turns to comment on issues presented and make contributions to help move the maritime sector forward. After a successful deliberation, the stakeholders thanked Nimasa for finding the initiative to interact with them before the forthcoming meeting.
The D8 is a group of 8 countries that are coming to Nigeria to discuss on shipping cooperation. So the need for the stakeholders forum is to let our shipping stakeholders know what is going on, come up with a strategy of what they want. And then when we get to Abuja and meet the head of states and the ambassadors, we can now talk to them one-on-one, the companies that come from Turkey, Egypt, Malaysia, exactly the cooperation that we want between Nigeria and their countries. So it's just for us to be prepared for the main meeting next week.
The planning committee at the Federal Ministry of Transport level felt it's important that there has to be a pre-meeting we had to be held with the stakeholders to ensure effective participation of stakeholders at the big meeting in Abuja. And that is exactly why this meeting was held today.
The National Task Force on the Implementation of the London Convention and its protocols recently met at the Nimasa headquarters in Lagos to develop a roadmap to protect our marine environment and ecosystem from further degradation. Now, this report is prepared by the head of our studios, Mr. Razaki Zebe, and presented by Aniti Edet.
The major objective of the London Convention of 1972 and its amendments of 1996, otherwise known as the London Protocol, is to promote the effective control of all sources of marine pollution and to take all practicable steps to prevent pollution of the sea by dumping of waste and other matter. Nigeria, as a signatory to the pact, has since domesticated this convention and gazetted 12 new regulations through the Nigerian Administration and Safety Agency Nimasa in order to ensure a clean and pollution-free marine environment. As the focal point of IMO activities in Nigeria and the government agency saddled with the task of marine pollution prevention and control, Nimasa has been in the vanguard for a sustainable maritime domain through a series of pragmatic initiatives embarked upon by the Marine Environment Management Department of the agency. One of such programs was a national workshop held in collaboration with the International Maritime Organization IMO in Lagos to familiarize the Nigerian stakeholders with the requirements of the London Convention. One of the major fallouts of the workshop was the need to constitute a multi-sectorial national task force to facilitate effective implementation and compliance of the London Convention and its protocol. In September last year, the National Task Force was inaugurated and the body has since begun operations. As expected, the Marine Environment Management Department of Nimasa is the mainspring of the task force, and its major objective is to accelerate the purpose for which the committee was set up, an onerous but strategic role that it is discharging conscientiously. Recently, the Marine Environment Management Department of Nimasa played host to members of the National Task Force at the agency's headquarters in Lagos. The meeting had in attendance the Minister of Transport, Senator Idris Umar, who was represented by Ardo Babayo, a senior official from the Ministry of Transport, the alternate permanent representative of Nigeria to IMO, Captain Adeboyega Olugbade. In his address, the Minister of Transport pledged his support to the quick implementation of the London Convention and its protocol in order to prevent further degradation of our marine environment and ecosystem.
The Ministry is ready to give us all the backing we need to achieve those objectives. And that's why we even invited everybody to be here with us, to join us, to give us the IMO perspective on how to implement the London Protocol Convention, because that's the crucial stage where we are now.
Captain Olugbade gave the IMO perspective to the discourse and underscored the role that Nigeria is expected to play in the West and Central African sub-region as a maritime powerhouse in Africa.
Nigeria is expected to play a leading role in West and Central Africa, and hence should be compliant with the convention implementation and report to IMO all dumping activities.
Captain Waridi Enuswo appealed for synergy amongst members and highlighted the need to widen the scope and the composition of the task force to accommodate diverse interest groups so as to elicit total support and easy adherence to the subsequent resolutions of the committee.
Some of these things are things we need to call in others in the other industry to also have an impact. So when we're going for meetings, let's just have this in mind. Maybe we need to hold a meeting and see whether we can even sponsor other people to sit with us. Yes, wider stakeholders, they are also here, they also have the gazette, they can also come back, maybe we may need to repeat some things and then go back and forth or something like that. So it doesn't look like one sector of Nigeria is following the law and another sector is saying another thing because we're very used to this language that was not carried along. Very, very tricky one.
In his contribution, MB Adewale, the acting director of Marine Environment Management of Nimasa, gave a brief history of the circumstances that led to the adoption of the London Convention and its protocol. Later in his speech, Mr. Adewale highlighted the major responsibilities of the task force. Dr. Mrs. Felicia Morgo of the Marine Environment Management Department of Nimasa, who is the coordinator of the various units, briefed the committee on the progress so far made by the think tank group. At the end of the session,
we spoke with some of the participants who pronounced their satisfaction with the outcome of the meeting and echoed their optimism that very soon the action plans and the guidelines needed to facilitate the effective implementation of the London Convention and its protocols will be rolled out.
This event was very unique, and it was, to me, my own assessment, it was very successful, and the agencies here today have verified their position, their readiness to work in that line to ensure that we don't have illegal dumping.
There are progress, substantial progress being recorded, and I'm sure within the next short spell of time, you see the impact on the ground.
Nimasa is almost about implementing it. Once we sort out this, as you heard, you were part of the meeting. Once we sort out this, we start implementing. So I think it's very, very soon we start the implementation.
And so we come to the end of this week's edition. As always, we hope we kept you educated and informed. Now, please don't forget, Nimasa This Week is an interactive show. We want to hear your thoughts, respond to your questions, comments, and even your criticisms. All you need to do is to send us an email to the address currently showing on your screen. And please, if you've availed yourself of marine transport, send us an email sharing your experience, and maybe we can convince other Nigerians to avail themselves of marine transportation. Now, I'm going to be here, same time, same station next week. Until then, we're wishing you smooth sailing and bon voyage.